He stormed down the hallway like he owned the world, his footsteps heavy, each one louder than the last, rattling the cracked walls of the old apartment building. The flickering light bulbs buzz overhead, casting long shadows on the peeling paint. He didn't just walk. He charged, fist balled, face red, lips curled into a sneer of arrogance. Everyone in that building knew that walk. It was a walk of Mr. Doyle, the landlord who treated the place less like a home for families and more like his personal kingdom. He thrived on fear, fed on intimidation, and he was about to unleash it all on one woman who, to him, had no power at all. He slammed his fist against the door, shaking it in its frame. "Rent's due, lady, and don't think I'll wait another day. People like you never pay on time." His voice carried through the hallway like venom, dripping with hatred. Each word sharpened like a blade. The tenants stirred. Doors creaked open just a crack. Eyes peeking through. Whispers weaving through the dim hallway. Children clutched their mothers. The elderly tenants shook their heads in silence. They had seen this before, Mr. Doyle towering, spitting his cruelty in broad daylight, humiliating whoever he targeted, enjoying every moment of it. And this time, his victim was Evelyn Carter. She stood just inside her doorway, silent, her hand on the knob, her chest rising slowly, her face calm but unflinching. Evelyn Carter, a 48-year-old African-American woman with warm brown skin, natural hair in neat twists pulled back, and intelligent dark eyes behind stylish glasses. She wasn't rich, she wasn't flashy, and she never tried to draw attention. She was known as a quiet one, the woman who paid her rent on time, who kept to herself, who worked long hours at the hospital and never caused trouble. But to Mr. Doyle, she was just another tenant he could walk all over. He shoved a crumpled eviction notice at her, grinning like a predator. "You hear me? Pack your bags, you're gone tonight." He laughed, loud, sharp, cruel, the kind of laugh that cuts deep because it carries more than sound. It carries power. The neighbors murmured, whispering, shaking their heads. They'd all felt that sting before. Rent raised without warning, repairs ignored while money was demanded, threats of eviction hanging over their heads like storm clouds. But none of them ever fought back. Because who fights the man who owns the roof over your head? But Evelyn didn't flinch. She didn't beg. She didn't plead. She stood silent, her hands steady, her eyes calm. Her silence wasn't weakness. It was something else, something Doyle couldn't recognize, because men like him never do. And then, slowly, she unfolded another paper. Her fingers moved with purpose, smooth, deliberate. The neighbors leaned closer. Doyle's smirk stretched wider, mistaking her composure for desperation. "What is this? Another excuse? Another promise to pay me next month?" He snatched at the paper, but then his laughter died. His eyes darted across the bold word stamped at the top. Property deed, owner, Evelyn Carter. The smirk slid from his face. His pale skin flushed red, then drained white. His mouth fell open. "Why you own this place?" His voice cracked, stammering, choking on disbelief. Evelyn stepped forward, her voice cutting through the silence like steel wrapped in velvet. "That's right. And starting today, you're the one with 30 days to leave." The hallway erupted. Gasps shot through the air. Some tenants clapped. Others laughed. A few cried tears they had been holding back for years. The man who had mocked her, who had humiliated her, who strutted through the building like a king, was now nothing more than a fool exposed in front of everyone. Doyle's eyes darted left and right, looking at the tenants who had once cowered under his threats, but now looked at him with boldness, with satisfaction, with justice in their eyes. His lips trembled. This can't be real. There's no way you could forward. But Evelyn didn't need to explain herself. Her 48 years told the story for her. Years of double shifts at the hospital. Years of sacrifices, of saying no to herself so she could say yes to her dreams. Years of enduring disrespect from men like Doyle, all while building quietly, saving steadily, investing wisely. She hadn't just bought a building. She had bought freedom. And now she was about to give that freedom to everyone else under this roof. She raised the deed higher, letting everyone see. The stamp was official. The seal undeniable. An elderly woman from down the hall, her hands trembling on her cane, spoke up. Her voice was weak but brave. "She saved this building when you let it rot. She's the only reason we even have a roof over our heads." The tenants nodded, their whispers turning into agreement. For years, Doyle had ignored them. When pipes burst, he patched them with tape. When the heat failed in winter, he shrugged. When the roof leaked, he claimed it was too expensive to fix. But Evelyn had stepped in quietly, helping pay for repairs, calling in favors, making sure families had what they needed when Doyle turned his back. She had been protecting them long, before they knew she was the owner. Now the truth was out. Evelyn's calm voice rose above the murmurs. "You thought power came from tearing people down, but real power, it comes from lifting people up." She turned to the neighbors, her voice firm but warm. "This building is ours now, and the days of neglect and abuse are over." The hallway shook with applause. Tears welled in eyes that had seen nothing but struggle. Laughter burst from mouths that had been too afraid to speak. The chains of silence broke in that very moment. Doyle stumbled back, his hands shaking. His lips twisted, but no words came. For the first time in years, he had no control, no authority, no voice. Evelyn looked him dead in the eyes, her words final and unshakable. "You tried to evict me from a place I already owned, but today I evict you from the power you never deserved." He stormed away, but his footsteps no longer carried thunder. They carried defeat. Weeks passed, and the building began to change. Where paint once peeled and ceilings leaked, fresh colors now covered the walls. The broken steps were repaired, the flickering lights replaced with warmth. Repairs that had been ignored for years were finally made. Evelyn kept her promise. She wasn't just an owner, she was a protector. Families who once lived in fear of eviction now slept in peace. Children laughed in the courtyard instead of whispering in fear of moving again. The elderly smiled, their voices filled with gratitude. One tenant stopped her in the hallway, tears in her eyes, and said, "I never thought I'd live to see the day someone cared more about us than the rent." Evelyn smiled softly and replied, "This place is our home, and everyone deserves dignity in their own home." Meanwhile, Doyle was gone, forced to pack his things. He left bitter, defeated, stripped of the arrogance that once clung to him like armor. He had lost more than a building. He had lost the illusion of power. And the truth about men like him is simple. Without fear to feed on, they have nothing. One evening, Evelyn stood in the same hallway where it all began, the place where humiliation had tried to crush her. But now, instead of whispers of fear, there was laughter, warmth, and unity. The tenants gathered, smiling, talking, living freely. She looked at them, her neighbors, her community, and spoke with quiet convictions. "They tried to silence us. They tried to push us out. But we're still standing, stronger than ever. Because when the tables turn, justice doesn't just knock, it stays." The hallway filled with applause, not for revenge, but for renewal. Evelyn had turned oppression into opportunity, and a building of pain into a home of hope. Hit that like button. Subscribe for more stories that matter. And let's keep the conversation going.